Hello, this is going to be a bit of a more high-level overview of some of my favorite features in Nezumi, which is this drawing tool program that helps to make better lines by basically hacking the mouse itself. So let's get started. The first thing to do is to help discover the different kind of rulers and tools by enabling the preset toolbar. So I click here. This is a very good default selection of the different rulers and tools, and it gives you an idea of like what they do really fast. Like you can learn the program and just use these, and then you don't have to hotkey anything. Selection is really good, so you don't need to necessarily mess around with this too much, the menu itself, because it can be quite overwhelming to have all these menus up all the time. And if you are having like a limited screen real estate, it's nice just to hide it away and then keep the defaults. I normally have it set up like this, where I have my tablet down here, where I'm basically drawing on two monitors at the same time, and you can see the Nezumi software basically in the upper left corner of all this. And so it's actually the middle of my drawing surface, right? It's right in the middle, so I can just click these and I don't have to necessarily engage with my keyboard while I'm casually drawing or blocking in a scene or stage. I can just like click these and use the tools. And if I want to modify, I can go up there. But we're gonna keep them on screen for now for, good luck. And so we can actually see what I'm doing when I'm changing the settings around. So moving into the Subun, which is the first, this is the default, and basically removes like small uneven pieces and you get cleaner lines. It's just a good, not too involved hack. And you can change this around. So either by going, so here you can see I'm choosing the different smoothing options by just holding my mouse over, and then I get the drop down menu. And the difference between massive and subtle is just that they are changing the moving average amount on both the positions moving and the pressure processing. So if I increase the moving average on the processing of the stroke, you see that it takes a while longer for it to actually change in size. So if you need like very precise kind of tapered start to your strokes, or you want your strokes to end in a certain way, you can do that by changing these settings around. Say you are drawing like leaves and you need like a lot of them, getting a very clean taper at the end of the stroke, it just really expedites the whole process. The next tool is pull string. So it looks like a little string, and basically what it does is you pull and it drags a little string behind, and you can make very sharp turns on the stroke. So a lot of programs have a solution like this, and the thing is that you can't usually edit the tool itself. You just have like a little string that helps you pull. But what's really cool about being able to change, for instance, the length of the string is that, say I want to make a point that goes through here, here, and here, and I want to like to curve through here and here. If I elongate the string, I can very clearly see myself approaching the line, right? So here, you go through it, I go all the way up here, and then I can go down and come over there. So by having a longer string, you gain a bit more control over the relative position of it, but you also need to move your mouse more. So if you're doing something close to the edges, you actually can't because the string doesn't move enough. So while I'm here, I want to talk about some different pressure processing effects that are available. You can do this on all the rulers, all the Nezumi checks, but it's easy to show here with the pull string. And of course, default moving average, but you can actually choose the amount of pressure you want on the line itself. So here, you see it's always the same, no matter how hard I press on the tablet itself. And this is nice if you have, you know, a style that requires like a certain kind of like outline. So you need something like quite wide around, and then you want maybe like interior details that are relatively smaller in line, and then maybe at the very smallest, you know, to have kind of like very clean, consistent look. And if you're doing this and you want tapers, you can always make a selection and just create the taper yourself. So if you can make bigger strokes that you used to see, you know, you can come in and define the taper yourself, which is quite handy if you're just doing like a cleanup line. You need like a taper, like maybe in 2 places, and the rest is like connected lines. Really, you can save a lot of time. There's also sample and hold, and basically what it does is it processes a certain amount of inputs and then it holds it in place, so it's the same size. So you can have like a quick taper and then it holds the size. Very useful. The next tool is our first ruler, which is the connected lines ruler. Just looks like this. And what it does is it connects the 2 lines you just made and allows you to very quickly just draw like that. And this should be obviously why that's really nice, because usually if you have, you know, if you have drawing software and you press shift to get a straight line, usually it only allows you to, you know, to draw something like that where you can go either left or up, which is not the majority of straight lines you need to make. And then you have to like rotate your canvas and do all kinds of things just to make nice straight lines. Here you just click and you drag. What's nice about this as well is that you can actually reduce the accuracy. You can do this for all rulers. So if I reduce it to 0.97, you know, like to very almost 1, I can actually move the stroke. See, so it creates a straight line all the way, but I can just move it back and forth ever so slightly. And this way, if you are maybe doing a background layout where they don't necessarily want all the strokes to be straight, but they still have to be kind of close in perspective, this is a nice way to create some life and variety in the line itself. The next tool is the Bezier curve and the quadratic Bezier curve. Basically, you press 3 times and it creates 3 points, and you have a curve that you can repeat, you know, perfectly every time. If you're rendering something where you need like, you know, a highlight, maybe like in one spot in particular, and it has to be on a curve, super fast to paint. If you have like a, you know, a line that is just repeatable like this, and you don't have to think too much, but you can just focus on what it is that you're actually just painting. Again, you can either move the gizmo, the move point, and if you hold control, you move the entire curve, or you can do a curve fit where you draw a curve and it will try to match that 3-point curve. And you can hotkey the 3-point fit, and it saves a lot of time. Bezier curve, the same. You have tangents and scale, and if you're making something that has to go around the circle, it's really nice to be able to preview that line and see, oh, it will go like that and it will look like that. And then you can commit to painting. I'm using that a lot for a lot of architecture things that I'm doing right now that I can't show. So again, with these, if you decrease the accuracy just a tiny bit, you give them a bit more life. So you can move the stroke. Okay, just better. You can move the stroke and get more variety that way. Next tool is the ellipse tool. So we go here. And I'm gonna enable something. Let me see here. Radial line. So this is the first time where there is two rulers in one. So you see here, it helps you keep symmetry across the cylinder if you're drawing like the top of something. But also, say I want to match that over here, I can go here. But what if I want to, go in a straight line across? This is where I have to change the ruler, but I don't necessarily want to go here into connected lines, find the center and go back. But I can just, by being in this controller and while drawing, if I hit Control, it changes which ruler is active. And I shouldn't have to elaborate too much on why that is really, really fantastic. So you create an ellipse. Again, you can either do it by moving the gizmo. You just press Control and you get the functions here. It's very intuitive. Or you go 3-point fit, where you make first the center line and then you define the amount of degrees you have. And again, you have everything right there. So it's really, really strong. You can make circles in perspective and just worry about what it is that you're painting and not so much about if the stroke is correct or not, right? Because if you have to do all these repeated curves, by hand, especially if there's a very subtle curvature, it takes a while because you might make a little mistake and that breaks the perspective illusion, and then you have to redo and undo and redo and undo. So just having this saves a ton of time. Right, the next tools are the perspective rulers. Again, you can reduce the accuracy. And the way you manipulate these most is that you can change the view radius, right? It works for the 4-point perspective. It's basically the pupil, right? Like if it's very short, it's the whole ruler, right? There's nothing else in there. See, it makes a bunch of half circles and you can follow those out. And by changing the view radius to something huge, you almost get like a normal, 2 or 3-point perspective drawing by like tilting the horizon a bit. But you have this slight curvature, which is, again, something that can be quite difficult to just do intuitively. But once you have drawn in it for a while, you really start being able to see a lot of really cool possibilities with it. If you are working in Photoshop, Lazy Nezumi follows the perspective or the zoom level. So if I zoom in here, you can see that it actually moves with me. You can see the canvas zoom starts increasing. And if you are in another software, you just have to do that manually. They say canvas zoom this and that. And they might not move with the canvas. Okay. Let me just a bit in perspective. Another thing to look for in these, so it's not just basic, is that you can actually change the ruler mid-stroke, just like the ellipse tool. So if you are just like blocking out a scene and you want to, change direction, you can just click Control and it changes. This is controlled by the line select mode. So you can either say manual start. If I have it to manual, you can see that it now only follows the last used line. So if you're hatching down a perspective, that can be really useful. So it doesn't confuse, like try to go up and down. And then I have to actually press Control to change the line itself. And then it just goes X, Y, Z, right? You can also set it to auto start and change. So if you are, say if I am, just like sketching out a scene, and I'm not really too concerned with an accurate line just now, but I just want to like plug out something quickly, I can just, kind of like go like that, and it just follows the perspective a line, and all the lines are basically in perspective. And so if I'm, doodling, I know that the marks are correct-ish, and I can get like almost like a gesture line to it, but still have it be quite complete. But if you're doing like a more detailed drawing for this, I would not recommend that, because it can get really confused. You see that if I'm moving like a little bit around, it makes these squiggles that are both a style in itself, but also maybe not what you desire, right? And you can also play like, the Windows screensaver screen, right? If I change the color, and you can be like the pipes. So you can really get somewhere quite fast if you just have it to auto. So say you have something in perspective that you've drawn, and you want to put some ellipses in there, right? So I just do like kind of a quick building. I can take my ellipse guide here, my perspective ellipse, and it feels a bit crazy to start with, so let's just bear with me. First, let's just draw a reference box so I have something to go for. And I'm going to take this corner, this corner, this corner, and this corner. And the goal is basically to match the perspective that is already there. And you get basically a circle where you can, again, if you enable the radial menus, so you get a both circle in perspective, but you also get like a very clear line reference with that. I mean, it's just super strong. So that's a more high-level overview of Lazy Nezumi, to basically use the tools, use the menus, change only a few things. And if you like something that you did, you can always save that as a preset, and you can actually go into the menu here. There's like a tutorial how to add the presets to the toolbar, and then you can add those, and you have them basically forever. Thank you for listening. I hope that you will have fun using Lazy Nezumi.